Hey guys, today we want to talk about building confidence in kids, and this being a super passionate topic on my end, as well as something that's truly important. And if you think about it, obviously, what parent would say that you do not want your kid to be confident? Of course, it's a given. Anyone would want that. But at the same time, what we do is like, I see it with parents, I see it in my own journey as well. Like, we don't necessarily have like a playbook asked for, like, how do we build this? And if you think about how you build it, if you feel confident, like, what were those actions truly, or what were those experiences in your life? So as we go through this, one of the things that I want to change, and the mindset that you'll see here, is that we go from the more classical version of, which is the classical parent paradigm, right? Of, obviously we praise kids. Like, I grew up, my mom saying, you can do this, you're the best, like, you got this, you can become anything you want. And I think that's a quite common thing, right? Like, we encourage, we tell them good things and all of that, but we still see that hesitation with the children. So what is it really that it's all about, right? And also, I think one thing that we're seeing a lot happening as well is that confidence is truly a fragile thing today. A lot of kids growing up with like social media, like seeing things, AI is coming, YouTube showing them like just, people getting rich fast and all of that. So it's truly a fragile thing, right? Like, I'm in Denmark, we see a lot of people, kids in school that become non-confident, obviously, but also like, not willing to go to school, or feeling bad about themselves, or depression or whatnot, which is truly terrible, right? And what I want to think about is like, does not have to do with bad parenting, right? Like, so that paradigm of, we're doing something wrong, right? Like, we might be, but it's not on a conscious level. One time I met a New York Times bestseller called Liz Wiseman, and I remember a thing she said that was called accidental diminishing parenting. Or accidental diminisher dad, or something along the lines. And the fun part is, she wrote a cool book, by the way, not for today's topic, but the cool thing was that she said that a lot of times we do things in a good manner. So we actually have good intentions, we want to do good, but we end up disrupting that actual point that we wanted to do. So we end up diminishing, right? But it's accidental. So keep that in there, right? Because what we're doing as parents, it comes from a place of love. We want to do well with the kids, like, we want them to do well and all of that. So it all comes from a place of love and, like, wanting this to succeed. But at the same time, sometimes we do diminish, right, without actually wanting to do it. So we're not talking about bad parenting here. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. It's simply a missing mechanism that we're not getting, and that no one has truly told us how to do it as well. So we haven't been taught. There was no parent guide. There was no manual that came with these kids when they were born. And we're just trying to learn, right? Like, so keep that as an insight, and let's see how we can evolve this as well. So one of the things is that, like, one of the common assumptions that I see a lot is that like, that confidence comes from that encouragement, right? Like, so telling kids when they do well, like, talking about it, like maybe sharing ideas, or seeing examples of other people that were confident or feel confident. And the reality is, like, that becomes that you can do it, right? As I said with my own mom, right? Like, the praise, like, whenever you do something, it's always good, right? And sometimes it might not even be that good, right? But that's our tendency as parents, right? And it's not a bad thing. Again, it comes from a place of love. We want to do good for our kids. But the thing is also with praise that, like, when we praise someone, right, be it a team member, family member, friends also, right, it comes from like a place of love, and it feels supportive, right, when we do it. So of course, like, it comes from a good place. And obviously, like, if you talk about schools, right, which is one of my big topics as well, and a lot of the stuff I teach, I do because I was not taught it in school, and I really want to make sure that kids today get, those things as well. And the point is, like, we simply reinforce it, right? Because, like, when you do good, when you have good grades, like, then you get it. If you don't, well, then you don't get, like, necessarily that praise, right? So it's built around the whole system we have, the whole culture we have is built around it. And that's what I think is broken as well, right? So the intention is good, comes from a good place, comes from a place of love. And sometimes we're accidentally jumping in and making some of these mistakes that we're going to talk about today as well. So the thing about encouragement, and like, why this on its own, right? Why it truly breaks down. Like, one of the things is that it does not create any evidence for your child, right? Like, of what was it that happened, right? Like, what did they do that was good? It's just like a statement, right? So good job, or like, you're good, or you can do anything. That's like praise, right? And truly, what, if you think about it, like, that's like borrowing confidence, you could say, right? Instead of like earning it, right? Because it's just said it's temporary. You might feel good when you get praised. Like it's always nice to hear that someone cares and loves you, but it doesn't necessarily build anything in you. So what happens is that when things get hard, right? And this is what happens a lot of time, this whole thing disappears, right? So that confidence that might have been there or that we felt in the moment, it actually isn't, right? Like when stuff happens or something is truly hard for the child, then suddenly it just went down the drain, right? So it's not necessarily there. And the thing is, like, what we get a lot is like we get the kids to ask for help, right? It's not a bad thing necessarily to ask for help, but a lot of times we jump in, right? As parents, like they come and can you help me with this, or can you help me tie my shoes, or can you help me do this, or can you help me with my homework or whatnot? And what we truly ideally want the kid to say is like, let me try this, right? Like, so the first step should be like, I try it out and let's see how it works, right? And then at a later point in time, then of course, right? Like, of course we can help. Of course we want to be there supporting as well. But like, we truly want to make sure that they get this mindset of like, I can do it. Like, I just need to figure it out, right? Let me try, and then we'll build from there. And that confidence that comes from that. So let's talk about what it actually is that builds that confidence, because obviously what you can see a lot is like when this happens, like what can start growing is the avoidance, right? Like, so suddenly they just stay away from like trying new things because like failure can be an option, and that's not nice, right? No one wants to fail or feel like that. So what I've seen, and obviously my background, if you've been following me, I come from about 20 plus years as a CEO, as an entrepreneur in some projects, and I've been building companies. And what I found was that I really just wanted to build something to teach my own sons. They're today 9 and 12. All the stuff that I didn't learn in school. And it was all about like, you can build something yourself, right? So we get taught in school how to become an employee, how to do something for other people, how to get paid, how to get a salary check, all of that. And I really wanted to give them at least the option to say like, you don't have to build something because your dad did, but let me show you the tools that I've learned that no one taught me. And what was so interesting was that what I found was when we start doing something real, so like, when you build something as a child, or even as an adult though, confidence suddenly starts growing because like you feel that you can actually accomplish something. It might be hard, and somehow it's like, if you think about it, it's the first part is like the effort. So first component, like you go from like effort, then obviously there's always like struggle, right? So somewhere in the middle, like you struggle. Sometimes you go like the road is never like this. It's always like going in many directions and all of that, which is completely fine and normal in life, right? So it goes from that struggle, and then at some point you get to a small success, right? Which is what I love to celebrate, because that is something where they had to try, they had to struggle, they had to sit with the struggle as well. Like, we didn't jump in necessarily and help them. And then they had a small success. It might not be a massive success, but it's a small step, right? That brings them closer to what we're truly trying to build, which is that true confidence that lives within them. And the reality that I've seen is just that like experience always beats words, right? So we can talk about it and all of that, but like when your kids start going out, my own son's experience, like going out, trying to build a product, failing, figuring it out. Like in the beginning, it was messy. We built these chocolate things. It was all over the place, all over the kitchen. But then we learned little by little, right? Going out and selling it as well, trying out, seeing what worked, figuring out, what am I going to say if someone like even my family members, if I sell to people I know in the beginning, right? Like, what am I going to tell them, right? Like, and again, instead of just jumping in and telling them what to do, like ask them questions, right? What if you could become the coach and like let them get into this mindset of, hey, I can actually do it, right? So truly like experience of just trying always beats like the words, anything that we could say or anything like that. And the fun part is that like actually what I found was that confidence is more like a side effect than the goal. So it doesn't have to be the goal alone, because what we're truly trying to accomplish is obviously creating not just confident children, but also, world citizens that will be responsible, caring, loving, thinking about the other people, like stuff like that, right? And what we see when we start building things with them, giving them real responsibility, doing things where they can actually, try things and fail and all, is that confidence comes out of that, like as a side effect more than the actual goal. So that's an interesting topic to talk about more as well. So what is that mechanism then, right? And as I said before, like I've been in entrepreneurship, like that's where I come from. I'm very passionate about it, obviously, and again wanted to give it back to my sons. But that whole thing of like, owning something, right? Like it's yours, it's your project, and you're doing it, right? But not just doing it, but also finishing, right? Because that's something even in adult life, and I'm not necessarily the best finisher in the world, but when I actually do it, and when I take myself, from being idle or not really doing what I should be doing and actually finish things, it feels good. I feel good about myself. And it's exactly the same thing, right? We just want to break it down into small things so that we don't have to have massive victories, but we want to have like short, small, simple steps, right? Where those victories compound. And the more they try it in different things and so forth, the better they become at it, right? And that's the skill that you want kids to learn. Lifelong learning, you gain confidence from it, but it's truly that I can try something and I'll figure it out on my own. I can ask for help if I need it, but it's not going to be my go-to strategy. And that's where we start. We build something, we own it, and then when we get the results, and sometimes, of course, they will fail, but also when we fail, we know we can get back up. That's part of the experience as well. So truly that, like, that ownership is much more important than the actual outcome. And as I said, right, the finishing point of it, right, like getting to the finish line, like that is something that just builds trust in oneself, right? Like it's so, just so amazing what you see in kids. And also like one hard word to understand for some people, like that iteration, which means like, doing something, trying something, figuring it out. And if it doesn't work, you come back, you start again, or maybe just pick up where you left or where you fell, and then you get back right up, right? That is a skill you will need in sports and life, in professional life, in marriages, relationships, friendships, anything, right? Because you will fail. We will fail, and we have to get back up, and we have to learn how that happens. So that alone, right? Like just that iteration skill of saying like, hey, something did not work, but hey, what didn't work? Let's figure that out, right? That truly builds resilience, right? And I think that's one of like the most amazing things of doing these projects as well, because truly like what you learn is that it's just like merely feedback coming back, but from the real world, right? Like we're not just hearing it from someone, we're getting feedback from customers saying no, or them asking questions we hadn't experienced, or them suggesting things to us that maybe we hadn't thought of, right? So so that's a really, really interesting thing that comes out of this. So why is it that these small projects, as I call them, why is it that they work so well? And also like what I hear from a lot of parents when I talk about like entrepreneurship, stuff like that, it feels so like a big thing, right? Like entrepreneur, I'm not an entrepreneur. I've never built a business, or I don't know anything about it. That sounds like finance and whatnot. And the reality is that small projects, like what I like to accomplish is saying, hey, what if we could do something that's just small things, right? Like it doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be a full weekend, it doesn't have to be a massive commitment, and you do not need to be the expert of this to actually make it work, right? So that's where small projects come in, right? And one of the examples I always give when like people come to me and ask like, hey, like I'm thinking about entrepreneurship, like I would love my kid to try something. I asked them like, yeah, what have you tried, right? A lot of parents have tried like building a little stand outside their house or something like that. And one of the problems with that I see is that, yeah, you could take your toys, like I better doing it than not doing it, but you could take your toys, you could put yourself at a table outside. But the way I see it is it's like a very passive engagement, because what it truly is like they didn't pay for the toys, right? Like so they had no involvement, right? And also they're just sitting outside, like randomly getting random people walking by, right? Like that's not a very sort of conscious act of building something or doing something, because we're just getting whomever sort of comes by. So when we build something ourselves, and what I normally tell people when they ask me this question is like, why don't you just go to the supermarket? It's so easy. Buy one of these like cake boxes. Maybe I have one around here. I don't. But like buy one of these like pre-mixed things like that you just add water to, you add an egg or whatever it is. Bake the cake, right? You get a tray of cakes, cookies, whatever it is. If it is that like tray of cake, cut it into like 20 pieces. Let's say like one of those cost you like $4, $5, whatever, any equivalent in your local currency. But you cut it into 20 pieces, and then you sell those pieces for like half $1, $1, whatever you want, right? So what can happen is that you maybe just took that and say you took like $5 cake mix, and then you made that into $20 worth of cake sales, right? And not just that, because that's really simple. That's a small project. You could do that in a matter of hours, maybe even minutes, maybe even half an hour. But what they will learn is just like, you have to go out, you have to sell it, right? So if you're going to go out and talk about your cake, well, what are you going to say, right? Like some people like could be your neighbor, like my friend right next to us here, right? But when he opens the door, what are you going to tell him? What are you going to say, right? And they need to think about that, because they're going to go out and they're going to sell, even if it's to a family member, even if it's to you. You're not just going to buy it, right? So they need to think about that. And I think the cool thing about that small project is that you have a starting point. There's like a middle to it. Either it's the production or thinking about how are you gonna, sell it, or what you're gonna say or whatnot. And there's a finish, right? Because at the end of that, if you did this over a weekend or after school or whenever it is, you can actually finish this. And I've seen my kids do it, where they did like a production run. They didn't do like cake exactly. They did something else, but like small chocolates. And they could probably produce like 20 of those in an afternoon, right? And then they would go straight out and sell them, and they would be back in an hour, 2 hours, something like that, and they would have sold the whole thing, right? So it's a short thing. You start it, you produce it, you do everything, and you go out, sell it, and you learn something, right? So that's the cool part about a small project. And also because it's meaningful to the kids, right? So they start caring about the outcome. It's not just some random thing. They want to do this. They want to be successful. They want to try it, or maybe just start making money, right? So instead of having that stand outside, just something that they can do where they're in charge, like they're in charge of who they go and ask. And it doesn't have to be something that's scary. It could be the neighbors, it could be the family members, it could just be you, right, that they're selling to. But they get to start with something small that can be, meaningful and all of that with them as well. And also, I think one of the things that I like a lot about this is that you get this sort of like, I figured this out moment, right? Where, the kid like truly, they did it, right? So maybe not in the beginning, maybe you have to help them a little bit, but they get to a point where they made the cake, maybe they got a little help, that's okay. They figured out what they were going to say. It might be that it didn't work too well, and then maybe they pivoted and did something else as they learned, but they did it, right? You didn't do it for them. They did it, right? It was their idea, or maybe they got a little help, but it was them doing it, right? And that finishing that moment up, that's truly where that confidence goes. And another thing too is that you as a parent, you shift from being like, the helper, like the doer parent, maybe the accidental diminishing parent sometimes, to the coach, to the guide, to the, like that person you truly, truly want to become, where you're just helping them, but like as a more passive person, jumping in when they need it, but not doing it for them, right? Because they're in charge. And that is one of the things that truly, truly creates that confidence for them. So keep that as well. And one of the things I've seen is that, of course, it's not like you do one cake, you go out and sell it, and then like, boom, confident child, all set, ready to go. Like we don't have to talk about this again. It grows quietly. It does. And it does take time, though you do see changes very, very fast. But what it does is it grows deeply. And that's what we care about. We want this to be a deep change in the kid. And that's what you truly see when you start doing these things. So talking about the parent's role, so your role, that's where this is more about creating the space around it. So again, like less fixing and much more coaching, just being there, being the guide, being, that person that you want to be for them. And I think what is so cool is that as a real coach and as a good coach, I coach football from one of my sons as well. You don't want to be that guide, like that joystick coach that sort of like tells them what to do all the time. You want to be there as a guide, and you do not want to rescue them. You want to, as Liz said once as well, you want to be like seeing them playing in the waves where they're going to get shaken hard, but it's not life dangerous, right? It's not threatening. They're not going to die. That's the position you want to put yourself in. And you can sort of like get them a little further out as you want in those waves, of course, that's up to you. But the cool part here is that you allowing the struggle, right? Like, so they're truly having the opportunity to struggle without you jumping in to rescue them. And again, this is something we do all the time as parents. Not a bad thing. We do it from a place of love. We do it because we care, but it's not necessarily helping grow confidence. And that's what we want to do here. So, another thing that I've seen as well is that when you truly become the coach, and I teach this obviously in what I do as well for the parent to make it very easy, because a lot of people have never tried it before. It becomes more of like asking questions. And I love that, because like, I remember Liz said once where she used to like pace her kids to bed and all of that. It was like, go brush your teeth, go take your pajamas on, go make your bed, go whatnot, right? And tired of that. So she gave this cool example where she was saying like, what if I turn that around and I become the coach, ask the questions? So she had one night when she was like, all right, it's 9, whatever the time is. So what do we do at 9? And the kids were like, we, make our beds, we put our in our PJs, and like, okay, cool. And what do you do after that? Well, we brush our teeth and blah blah blah. And I was like, wow, like actually it works, right? They knew what they had to do. Like we don't need to pace them all the time. And that's a cool one, because think about how often we do that as parents. Like if it is get ready for school, if it is like do this homework, if it is remember you have to get out the door at this time. Like what if you could have that ability just to ask better questions, right? So that, your child starts figuring it out for themselves. Again, massive, massive confidence driver. And that's what we're looking for here. And also, I think what's important, and that's where the mechanism comes in, is that as a parent, you want to make sure that you can just trust the process, right? You want to have a framework that can help you guide this process, where like it will be messy, and it has to be messy. That's part of life, right? When have you grown when it did not become messy at some point? Of course, right? It has to happen, but how do you do that, right? Trust the process, and that's also that point of like being supportive, but without putting pressure to the child. Like figure out how you can become the coach, like guide them little by little, have those changes and so forth. And then just being that coach that asks questions, that is there for them when they need it, that lets them go out in the waves and have those experiences, but of course is ready to pull them back if they get too far, right? But they will start getting further and further and further, because their confidence grows, the belief in themselves, their skills, all of that, right? Real world skills. That toolbox is going to start growing small steps, one at a time. So what this is truly all about is like, it's not about just raising capable kids. I don't preach, like getting A+ students and it's about getting good grades and all of that. Like I'm tired of hearing about that, honestly. I think that's not relevant anymore. I did not get the best grades when I was in school. I wasn't the best at doing my homework. I was not the best at many things, but I learned that, like both through my childhood and also through my adult life, that like those struggles actually built you, right? Like the times that I've lost my job, or the times that I had to start from scratch, those are the moments that have defined me the most, if you look at it from where I am today. And that's a super important insight, right? So we're not talking about raising perfect kids here, and it's about like giving them those capabilities. So not capable as in like A+ students, but having real skills that they can use in life when things get messy, as they do, and when things get tough, they will know how to handle that. And so the invitation I have for you really is, I'm going to post much more content about this. You can find more videos. You can definitely go over to Instagram as well and follow me there. I post daily. And I'm opening up a masterclass very soon, where you can learn more about these things. So if it resonates with you, please go check it out. All the information is here in the captions below. And make sure to follow this channel if you feel like this is an important topic as well. I'm really going deep on this right now, really exploring all facets of it, and really using what I've learned and like those 20+ years of building companies, entrepreneurship, to build something that's meaningful as a method for children and for parents as well, to make it easy to get started, to make sure you are handheld along the way, and that you have a process that you trust, that it will take you from where you are and to where you want to be, with the mess, with everything, but with someone that will hold your hand throughout that process as well. So details right below. Whenever you're ready, I'm here for you. And I truly hope this changed something in you. If you have any comments, any questions, anything that did make a mind shift change, or where you felt this resonated with you, please leave a comment. I always love to hear from you. And if any questions came up, feel free to answer those as well. And I'll do all my best to see how I can help you. Have a wonderful day, and see you soon.